Welcome to Workplace Violence Prevention Training. We appreciate your participation in this important initiative today. In today's training, you will learn about California's workplace violence prevention law, learn how to identify, evaluate, and correct workplace violence hazards, learn the provisions of OPS Workplace Violence Prevention Plan, WVPP, and how you can get involved in developing and implementing our plan. Learn how to report and investigate workplace violence incidents. Learn how to seek assistance to prevent or respond to violence and strategies to avoid physical harm. It's important that all employees understand our workplace violence prevention plan. Our plan is designed to protect coworkers, as well as visitors and contractors, from any threat of violence or workplace violence. Coworkers must be familiar with OPS Site's Workplace Violence Prevention Plan and their role in preventing and addressing incidents of workplace violence. How to obtain a copy of the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. A copy of the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan is available and is accessible to all coworkers at no extra cost. To obtain a copy of the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan, contact Site Manager, EHS, or the Workplace Violence Prevention Administrator, Matt Wells, our VP of Environmental Health and Safety. You can reach out to him by calling 214-945-9642. A Workplace Violence Prevention Plan posting will be on all sites' Safety HR Communication Board and stored on the site's shared drive and/or SharePoint site.
What is workplace violence? Any act of violence or threat of violence that occurs in a place of employment, including threat or use of physical force against coworker that results in, or has high likelihood of resulting in, injury, psychological trauma, or stress, regardless of whether coworker sustains an injury. Incident involving a threat or use of firearms or other dangerous weapon, including the use of common objects as weapons, regardless of whether the coworker sustains an injury. Workplace violence does not include lawful acts of self-defense or defense of others. What are the types of workplace violence? Type 1, violence. Workplace violence committed by a person who has no legitimate business at the worksite and includes violent acts by anyone who enters the workplace or approaches coworkers with the intent to commit a crime. Type 2, violence. Workplace violence directed at coworkers by clients, visitors, or contractors. Type 3, violence. Workplace violence against a coworker by a present or former coworker, supervisor, or manager. Type 4, violence. Workplace violence committed in the workplace by a person who does not work there but has or is known to have had a personal relationship with a coworker. Workplace Violence Prevention Plan elements. Coworker responsibilities and involvement. The following procedures: communication, reporting, incident and emergency response, post-incident response and investigation. Also important elements of hazard identification and correction, record keeping and evaluation of the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. Coworker responsibility and involvement. Know your role. All coworkers are responsible for using safe work practices, following policies and procedures for maintaining a safe work environment, and promoting safety wherever and whenever possible. Coworker responsibilities include: you be respectful to all persons, refrain from threatening, harassing, or dangerous behavior. Report all threats, violent acts, or workplace hazards to your supervisor or manager. Cooperate with efforts to resolve workplace violence concerns. Evaluate each situation. Document any workplace violence incident. Call security or law enforcement if a coworker, visitor, or contractor is demonstrating violent behavior and safety may be compromised. OPS encourages active involvement of coworkers and their unions in developing and implementing the plan. How to prevent workplace violence. 1. Evaluate each situation. 2. Be alert to potential dangers and trust your instincts. 3. Do not isolate yourself. 4. Always keep an open path for exiting. 5. Recognize pre-attack behavior. Some examples to look out for: widening of the eyes or jerky eye movements, quick breathing, clenched fists or twitching muscles, uncontrolled yelling. Coworker role: reporting workplace violence and the response. When in doubt, report. All coworkers are required to report any threats or acts of workplace violence and should do so as follows. 1. Notify your supervisor. Report all violence incidents, threats, or other workplace violence concerns to your manager, supervisor, HR, or the WVPP administrator without fear of reprisal. If you wish to report anonymously, contact the Aurora Integrity Reporting Service, 855-292-7849, or the President's Hotline, 714-690-6333. 2. The manager, supervisor, or manager on duty will contact law enforcement, if appropriate, and coordinate with law enforcement on the reporting and investigation of the violent incident. 3. Human Resources and/or EHS will complete a violent incident log via SheAssure. The Workplace Violence Prevention Plan Administrator will inform the reporting coworker of the investigation results and any resulting corrective actions taken. The company strictly prohibits retaliation against any coworker for making a report of workplace violence. Communication is the key. To maintain a safe and secure work environment, we must maintain communication on matters of workplace violence with all employees. We want to facilitate a continuous flow of two-way, management, supervisor, and employees, safety, health, and security information in a form that is readily understandable and maintained without fear of reprisal. Another way to report anonymously, coworkers can do this by reporting a hazard using the SheAssure portal on a smart device in SheAssure. You can list one's name or not by marking as not applicable. Incident and emergency response procedures. De-escalating a volatile situation, do's and don'ts. 1. Don't block exits. Leave an escape route for yourself. 2. Don't match the threat. Speak in an even tone of voice and present polite and calm attitude. 3. Don't give orders. Keep communication simple, to the point, and focused. 4. Don't fight back. Avoid physical contact and aggressive behavior. 5. Don't get too close. Maintain a safe distance and physical barriers. 6. If the situation cannot be diffused, remove yourself from the situation. How to get help. If you need help dealing with a workplace emergency, contact site manager, EHS professional, or law enforcement by calling 911. Post-incident response and investigation. When a violent incident takes place, the WVPP administrator or designee will promptly conduct a post-incident response and investigation. Post-incident response procedures. 1. Provide immediate medical care or first aid to any injured coworkers. 2. Take any measures necessary to prevent others from being injured. 3. Identify all coworkers involved in the incident. 4. Assess whether any additional threats remain. 5. Conduct post-incident debriefing session as soon as possible with all coworkers involved. 6. Check in with affected team members. 7. Report the incident as required by Human Resources or any agency. 8. Evaluate the incident for gaps or deficiencies in emergency response plans. Investigation management will do the following. 1. Collect factual information. Visit scene of incident, take pictures, and preserve evidence. Interview involved workers and any witnesses. Obtain any reports completed by law enforcement. 2. Determine root cause. Involve workers at the work site to receive any special insight into potential causes and solutions. Examine the area for security risk factors associated with the incident, including any previous reports of misconduct by the perpetrator. Identify any contributing causes. 3. Identify and institute any corrective actions and preventative measures. Hazard security assessment. We will conduct periodic inspections of the workplace to identify and evaluate workplace violence hazards and threats of workplace violence. Inspections will be performed. 1. After each workplace violence incident. 2. When new or previously unidentified security hazards are recognized. 3. Annually by internal or external resource. Examples of workplace hazards. Working in isolated locations. Poor lighting. Leaving employee access doors unlocked. No system to warn others of security dangers, for example, alarms. Lastly, no effective escape routes. Report workplace hazards. If you become aware of a workplace hazard, report the hazard to your supervisor, manager, or the Work Violence Prevention Plan Administrator. Document the hazard and take photos so that management can correct the unsafe conditions and/or work practices in a timely manner based on the severity of the hazard. Retaliation against any coworker for reporting a workplace hazard concern is strictly prohibited. Hazard correction. We will correct unsafe conditions in a timely manner based on the severity of the hazard. Each employee plays a part in helping management correct workplace hazards. Examples of corrective measures include request a security escort when working in isolated areas, report burned out or inadequate lighting, keep employee access doors closed and locked, report unknown strangers and suspicious behavior, use the buddy system for emergency events, warn others of any security danger.
Active shooter. Here's what you need to know.
Surviving an active shooter event, coworkers should know how to respond individually to incidents of workplace violence and active intruders. Run, hide, fight. Number 1. Run away from the danger if you can. If you can escape without getting closer to the shooter, be sure to have an escape route and plan in mind. Run, regardless of what others do. Leave your belongings behind. Help others escape. If it doesn't endanger you, call 911 as soon as you are in a safe location. Remember to communicate that you are not a threat by putting your hands up. To hide if you can't run. Your hiding place should be out of sight, concealment. An example can be a dark office. Provide protection from bullets, cover. An example can be a heavy door. And not trap you or restrict your options for movement or escape to prevent a shooter from finding and entering your hiding place. Lock the door. Blockade the door with heavy furniture. Lights, radios, phones, etc. turned off. Do not shout or make noise. 3. Fight if you can't run or hide. Experts say complying and begging usually won't work. You have to fully commit. You're fighting for your life. Highly aggressive. Scream, yell, rush forward. Throw things, use improvised weapons, scissors, lamp. Move toward exits while distracting shooter. Attack groin, eyes, knees, throat. Don't ease up or stop until you are safely evacuated or the shooter is down for good.
Coworker, visitor, or contractor violence. OPS has a zero-tolerance policy for violent acts or threats of violence against our coworkers, visitors, or contractors. Includes discussions of use of dangerous weapons, even in a joking manner. If you are subjected to or threatened with violence by a coworker or anyone else at work, or you are aware of another individual who has been subjected to or threatened with violence, you are to report this information to your supervisor or manager or human resources as soon as possible. All threats should be taken seriously. Guns and other weapons. Guns or any other weapons are strictly prohibited and are not permitted on our premises. If you are found with any of these items in your possession, you will be subject to severe disciplinary action, up to and including termination. Record keeping. OPS will maintain records as follows. Hazard identification and correction records will be kept for at least 5 years. Violent incident log records will be kept for at least 5 years. Training records will be kept for at least 1 year. Investigation records will be kept for at least 5 years. Hazard identification and evaluation records, training records, and violent incidents log will be available to employees upon their request. Review of the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. We will periodically review the effectiveness of the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan, including the violent incident logs, and revise the plan as needed. The Workplace Violence Prevention Plan will be reviewed annually when a deficiency is observed or becomes apparent, and after a workplace violence incident. The Workplace Violence Prevention Plan will be reviewed by management and any participating employees. We encourage all employees to review and develop the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. Any comments or suggestions for improving the plan may be provided to Human Resources or the WVPP Administrator, Matt Wells. Remember, if you don't report it, we can investigate it. If you witness, experience, or learn of any non-emergency violent incidents, report the incident to your manager or supervisor or by calling the WVPP Administrator. If you think a matter is an emergency, dial 911. For any questions, concerns, or suggestions regarding this training or the WVPP, please contact the WVPP Administrator, Matt Wells, at 214-945-9642. Thank you for your participation in our workplace violence prevention training. If you have any questions, please reach out to your local site leader, safety representative, or HR. They will be glad to answer any questions you might have.